Welcome everyone to the 11th Insight series, and this is a question that I've been getting or I've been answered more frequently, so I've decided to put up a video about this one. And a lot of people are asking me what order to study each section in, so that's what we will be covering. And so as I've been saying, as the August 2023 exam approaches, and a lot of people are contacting me to begin studies for the next round of exams, in September, October, November this year, I have been onboarding a lot of new people, and I find myself answering the what order should we be studying all this stuff in a lot. So I thought I'd share it with the rest of you. So to get to the answer right away, if you're starting fresh or just kind of resetting your studies, I recommend doing LG first, RC next, and LR last. So the overall reason for this recommendation is that it seems to be the ideal order, at least in my experience, for letting each section have the next one. So there are more specific reasons for that, but if that's just it's a simple answer to a simple question. So I understand if you guys don't want to hear more about it, but for those of you interested, I do offer some justification. So why LG first? LG is widely known as the most improvable and studyable of the three sections, and I agree. This is not one of the places where I, sharply disagree with the establishment on this. This has been borne out by my experience. It's the easiest to learn. So this section, I think the reason why it's the easiest to learn is that it is just the most susceptible to a handful of techniques. You don't have to do too many things. But when you hear the word technique and me say it, this is maybe a question that you have. But James, what kind of hate technique? And yes, I kind of do. But technique does have a place in your studies. A number of them are unavoidable, especially when it comes to algae. But more importantly, there is a very non-important, or excuse me, a very important non-technique reason I like starting, which is the title of the slide here. Algae is great for a structural approach. All that structural reading stuff that I keep repeating about RC, we actually do it naturally on algae. So think about it. We don't actually care about whatever little story each game is supposedly telling us. Yes, the LSAT does us the courtesy of framing each game as some sort of real-world story, but we don't actually care about Company X losing a bid to Company Y, or that the flower truck can't deliver to Office A on Tuesdays, or any other. We don't care. These are all entirely interchangeable. All we care about is how these pieces relate to each other. But not only each other, but our initial diagram, the rules, the question stem, the answer choices. We don't care what company X does or that the flower truck, what it gives on what day. No, no, none of those things matter. We only care about how these pieces get moved around, and how the pieces get moved around is determined by how these pieces relate to each other and all the other stuff that I just said. So this, I don't care what the details are. I only care why and how this details here approach should sound awfully familiar to anyone who's seen my RC stuff. It's the same thing that I'm saying there, all, which is again answered by the title of the slide. That's because RC just looks so very different from LG. In fact, passages look a lot like normal academic reading, and of course, LG certainly does not share that characteristic. So when we see a passage, we switch to normal academic reading code, which is much more detail-oriented than the structural approach that I'm advocating all the time. And here's the kicker. It is good that school trains us to be detail-oriented. In every licensed profession, and lawyering is absolutely not an exception, it is extremely important not to miss key details. Accordingly, academic and professional training consistently pushes people towards ever higher standards and don't skimp on the details. That sort of mindset. And in this perspective, what I'm advocating for in RC represents really a regression in your path to professionalism. So now the question might be, so wait, regression? You want us to get dumber at this stuff? Honestly, sort of. Obviously, any regression, though, should be seen as just a temporary strategic retreat from the normal academic profession towards greater detail sensitivity. So I'm not saying that you should live your entire intellectual life this way. Not that anyone really would, even if I were to suggest such a thing. But I just want to make that clear that the things that I'm advocating on Mercy, it's not something that you should ideally be doing. Um, this is all just for the purpose of getting a better score on Mercy. I do want to add some caveats, though. It is possible, yes, that injecting a bit of this regression may one day help you process large volumes of reading by one, allowing you to more easily understand complex details because you, two, can interpret these details within a logical framework that you have constructed via a structural approach. But I mean, I don't really see the absolute need for anyone to really ever read like that outside of this exam. It's never I've never found it to be a hard requirement. It works for me simply because that's kind of how I already do things to handle large volumes. But if it's not something that is just sort of natural to you, I don't really see a compelling reason to just force yourself to try to do more of this everywhere. And again, even if I told you to do more of it everywhere, you guys probably wouldn't, and that would be a wise decision. All right, so we've talked about why LG first, gives you that structural mindset, or at least introduces you to it. And then RC, if you can kind of import that LG indifference to details um, and sensitivity to logic and relationships, if you can import that into RC, that's a good thing. So LG first, RC next. Why are LR last? Um, I wish I could explain why the benefits flow the way they do with any sort of technical decision, but as of this time, I can't. There just seems to be a lot of good that comes with algae and artsy first. The best I can do is call it a magical process of sorts. And again, I use magical in quotes, obviously. I have to say that because I just really don't have a more grown-up way of talking about it. Elegy, like we've been saying, just naturally lends itself to that structural approach. The way it's formatted, the way we read it, the way we think about it, it's just easy to immediately get into that structural mindset. Again, we do not care what these pieces are. We only care about how to move them around, how they relate to each other, how they relate to rules, etc. RC again is actually a lot like LG, but because it looks like normal reading, we have to train ourselves somehow to infuse LG's structural approach, the thing that we do naturally in LG, into the more standard looking verbiage aspects presented by RC. So again, RC looks like normal reading, so it's hard for us to imagine doing the structural thing. So in order to successfully do that, you're either watching my material, practicing words in one-on-one, and so that's really the thing that happens, the magic that happens. And so this, like I was saying, when it comes to finally doing LR last, the third bullet point that we just talked about in RC above, that's where the magic happens, where you are through some, ineffable, unnameable process, just kind of learning how to incorporate that structural mindset from LG into your normal looking RC reading. Again, I wish I could offer some more technical and scientific sounding um, reasons why the magic happens, but as far as I can tell, it's just magic at this point. So I do want to add something here. There's full disclosure. I also leave LR for last at the current time because I am frankly the worst at teaching it compared to the other two. And I also, for that reason, currently teaching it the most out of all three sections. But so just to talk about kind of how I got here. Previously, RC had the dubious honor of being your least favorite section to teach. But with the online format, LR has become less numerically important than it used to be. And also, more relevantly, my channel's analytics, despite the relatively small numbers, they do strongly suggest that you guys are most interested in and in greatest need of RC guidance. So I've kind of made a shift towards it. So as such, I think I've really stepped up my RC instruction game over the past calendar year or so, largely by being more confident through experience, really, that my personal insights into this section are more broadly helpful to you guys than I initially thought. So I was very, very conservative about how much of my RC scripture I would give you guys, but the channel has proven to me that I think it's still not exactly where I want it to be, but at the same time, it's not nearly as unteachable as I thought it was. But yeah, in addition to all these personal points, me just being honest that I really just dislike teaching algorithms at the current time, I really do believe the results in LR that you will get will benefit greatly from letting your brain work its magic in the transition from LG to RC. That I do sincerely believe in. And again, despite the sincerity of that belief, I can't really explicitly delineate why, and that's hopefully something that I can get a little bit better at as my channel and as my institution. So now we've reached the point where I just kind of want to sum things up. So again, simple answer to a simple question. What order should you study sections in? I recommend LG first, RC second, and LR third. The goal of doing it this way is to really get in touch with I don't care what these pieces are. I only care why, how I'm allowed to move the pieces around attitude from LG. That's your LG goal. And then when it comes to RC, our goal is to somehow find a way to import the above attitude from LG into RC. And again, that's what all my material and instruction is geared towards. And hopefully, as time progresses, I will be able to be more explicit and clear as to how to make this implementation happen so that it's just a little bit easier for you guys. Um, and I want to note a couple caveats here. While you can't fully ignore the what aspect of things, so you can't fully ignore details, you can nonetheless infuse your reading with that why, how element as you move along. And so finally, the process of learning RC this way seems to, like I said, magically help people find a compromise between details and logic when it comes to reading-based tasks. And that is why you kind of leave LR for last because, again, trying to learn structural reading and combined with the detail orientation LR really truly does demand, that's an uphill battle that I really haven't won in the 15 years of institution. So just kind of moving from LG to RC, letting the magic happen in that LG to RC transition, and then taking that magic and putting it directly into LR seems to be the way to get it done. So yeah, that's about it. Of course, we've reached this point, the algorithm thundering. Yeah, thanks for being here. Leave a comment, and as many as you guys have been doing, continue to email me about anything, questions about material, questions about stuff outside the channel, tutoring inquiries, everything should be directed. I will see you guys in the next one.